And we're off for episode number 41 of the 15 Red podcast on Friday, April the 2nd, 2021. And we're joined in Ireland by Scott MacArthur. Good evening, Scott.
Very good evening, Graham, on this Good Friday. Good to see you.
Yes. Yes, and good to see you this morning. Doing the readings as well, the hymns singing and the Bible readings this morning.
Yes, for Good Friday, of course. So
yeah, I do watch in, Scott, when you do them. So it's nice to see you do that sort of thing. It's lovely. Yeah. Right. So talking snooker, because that's what we're here for. We've got the cover of, just to say, Mike is not joining us tonight. Is doing his own. He's doing his own walk, and he won't be until later on. But he's not joining us anyway. So he'll be hopefully back tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we're covering finals tonight, 1997 to 2001 World Finals shortly. But before that, Scott, we had a bit of a shock result at the Championship League today.
Well, you say a shock, but more a shock that someone's been eliminated rather than someone who's got through. Trump has been eliminated before the playoffs. Now, of course, Trump has won the Championship League 3 times.
Yeah.
No, I think he was just using this as a bit of a warm-up for Sheffield, really, and he's not really done very well. Although yesterday he did make his 800th career century break.
Yes, that's wonderful, and just in time for Sheffield as well.
Yeah,
and I think, like we said yesterday, I don't think Judd's really bothered about this tournament. I think he's more bothered about when he comes up in the World Championships, because that's what's gearing up for. That's what all the players are ready for now, I think. And he'll be ready for Sheffield, and I think he'll go far. I think he'll make semis or final without a doubt.
Yeah. Whether he'll play O'Sullivan and break that Houdini that's existed since 1987, that the top 2 seeds having met in the final.
Yeah, well, it will be a fantastic final, of course, if they do it. It'll be a dream final for us, like we said before on many occasions. But one of the results today, Judd losing 3-0 against Dott, is a bit of a shocker.
Yeah, although to be fair, Graham does seem to come good at the time of Sheffield. Because he's been in 3 finals. Actually, in the first year that we're going to cover tonight, I know I'm slightly jumping the gun, but in the first year that we're going to cover tonight, 1997, that's when Dott made his debut.
Yes. Yeah, I saw that. I read that earlier on. I was like, oh, so he took nearly, I know we're jumping again, but 9 years to win it.
Yeah.
9 years he had to wait. Which is a long time when for snooker. It's a long time to wait for a title. I know some players haven't done it at all from debut, who's still around now. But Dott's done it, and he hung around there and he battled to get there.
Yeah.
Even though he won it at 12:30 at night.
Against Peter Ebdon, but we'll get to 2006 eventually, probably in the next episode, actually.
Probably tomorrow, yes, with Mike. And then we've got to cover the rest of them. But we've got World Championship qualifiers, so we've got a busy time coming up.
Yeah, and then, of course, after the World Championship, probably, we've got our personal interviews to do. So
we have. So there's a lot of stuff to come up on the 15 Red podcast. Guys, keep watching in for updates on the group. By the way, 300
members. Well, thank you to everybody that's joined up and is following us. That was a tremendous boost when I got up this morning.
It is. It's fantastic. And also, as well, the guests we've had on as well, we can't thank them enough.
Indeed not.
So that's been lovely. It's been a wonderful journey, Scott, really, with you and Mike. It's been fantastic.
Tremendous. But speaking of guests, of course, one of them was Kelly Barker, and Kelly
Well,
Barker drew to my attention today that the order of play for the sessions at the World Championship has been released.
yes, and obviously Ronnie O'Sullivan opens up the thing.
Yes, obviously we don't know who they play yet. We'll have to watch the qualifiers for that. But
17th of April, it's not long away now, Scott.
15 days.
Yeah, and before the World Championships, of course, I've got my launch show to do, and then we've got the draw live, haven't we?
Yes. Well, we're going to try and share the WST live stream of the draw.
Yes, can't wait.
Obviously, Rob Walker will probably be doing the draw with somebody like John Parrott or.
Yep, and also the qualifying starts shortly. I think it starts on Monday, doesn't it?
It does, Monday, indeed.
Yep, so that should be interesting to see if Rhiannon Evans, of course, can make it. To see if she can beat Andy Hicks for a start.
Yes.
And then, of course, if she wins that, she plays Eden Sharav.
Yes, Eden Sharav.
And then, of course, if she gets through that, I don't know where to go from there.
Well,
I think it'll be Graham Dott. It'll be Graham Dott. Yeah. So, that's a hard run.
Yeah, especially Andy Hicks, the semi-finalist 26 years ago.
What? Yes. And he's still there. He's still hanging around, though, Scott, isn't he?
Yeah, still there.
And Rebecca Kenner, by the way, just to mention her, she plays Brendan Sargent in the first round of qualifying. Then if she gets through that, it's Andrew Higginson.
Former Welsh Open finalist, of course.
2007. And if she gets through him, she's got to play Lee Hang.
Oh.
So that's a hard run as well for the other British girl.
Yeah. On Yi, who's the other lady that's been given a tour card for next season, unfortunately, she can't get out of Hong Kong.
Okay, then. So that's that. And then on the 17th of April, obviously, Ronnie starts. Stephen Maguire starts. And Neil Robertson and Yan Bingtao and David Gilbert all start on the 17th.
Yeah.
So there you go. So
John, my cap, John Higgins, starts on the Sunday.
He does. Yeah. And obviously we don't know who would be playing yet, but whoever he's playing, I'm sure he's up for it, Scott. But I did say before that he's not a fan of the long schedule. He has openly said that before, but
I know he has. But at the same time, he's the sort of player whose game is built for Sheffield, having won it 4 times. But I understand what he means, that personally it is a bit of an endurance test for him at 45.
It is. It's getting that way now, isn't it? It's a good job he didn't have to play in the 1930s and the 1940s when they was like had to get 90-odd frames doing.
And they played dead frames.
They played dead frames as well. Yeah, I was
trying dead balls.
I was also trying to work out what the dead frames meant. I couldn't work out what the actual dead frames actually stood for.
No, but I'll tell you what that means. It means that, for example, if it was best of 35, first to 18, and you won 18-0, you would still play until it got to 18-17.
Right. Okay, so even with a dead frame.
Yeah, they'd still play the dead frames.
That's interesting, isn't it? I see what you mean. The dead frame, even though it doesn't matter, you still got to play it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they even played dead balls. If somebody was 100 behind, they cleared up.
It was so weird tournaments back then. And also, like I'm saying in my launch show, that the 1964 to 68 World Championships were all challenge matches. They weren't actual proper tournaments.
Knockout matches, no.
Yeah. So, and it changed in 1952 as well, didn't it?
Yeah, the whole Horace Lindrum controversy, because the players didn't want to play anything. You know, there was a fallout with the association. Then the WPBSA was formed. No, it was a terrible mess.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to cover that in the launch show. Anyway, talking about World Championships, let's go back in time, Scott.
Let's get into the time machine once again.
24 years ago.
Yes.
Goodness me. When has that gone for a start?
Well, that's the year before I was born.
You were born 98, weren't you?
Yeah.
I was 13 at this point. Dear me.
Oh,
right.
dear.
So, with the final was between Hendry and Doherty, and your man lost, so he goes first in the run-up.
Yep, because he lost for the first time since the quarters in '91.
He did.
Yeah. Mark Robert Wilcox has just commented there. Let's not bring up 1952, LOL.
Well, like I say, Mark, I will be doing in my launch program.
We're keeping an eye out. But anyway, Stephen's route in 1997.
Yes.
10-6 against Andy Hicks.
Yeah.
13-8 against Mark Williams. 13-10 against Darren Morgan. And 17-13 against James Watney.
Yeah.
And then lost 18-12 in the final.
Yeah, I sort of remember that Hendry Watney semi-final as well. Like I say, it was just like, where's Watney gone? Because he was such a quality player. We keep saying it on episodes, but he was so good.
Yes, he was very good. Very good player indeed.
I mean, the players he beat was Graham Dott, who made his Crucible debut that year.
Yep, as we mentioned.
Yeah, Watney beat him 10-9. Then he beat Stephen Lee 13-7 and John Parrott 13-10. So
that's not a bad run for the semis, that.
No, but Hendry was just a bridge too far.
Well, he was a bridge too far for most folk in those days.
He was.
Well, apart from Ken, that is, whose first victim was a certain Mr. Mark Davis.
Yeah.
10-8. And then a certain Mr. Steve Davis, and this scoreline might surprise a few people, 13-3.
10 clear frames over Davis.
Yeah.
Wow.
10 clear. And then in the quarters,
another shocker.
Well, he beat the player that would beat him in the following year's final. 13-8 he beat John.
I've got 13-9 here, Scott.
Oh yes, so it is. 13-9. The numbers are very small, I must have.
It's all right. Yeah, 13-9 over Higgins.
And then 17-7 over Elaine Robidoux in the semis,
wow.
and then 18-12.
Wow. Elaine Robidoux got to the semis. I didn't remember that.
Well, basically, in that half, McManus and Ebden went out very early.
Yes, they did, because Ebden lost to Masrosis 10-3.
Yes.
And McManus won Billy Snedden 10-9 and lost to Lee Walker 13-10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that half of the draw sort of opened up a bit for Ken, to be fair.
Yes, it did. But you see, John Higgins beat Dominic Dale on his way through. He also beat Graham Horn as well. And you think John Higgins might have had a run to the semis that year.
Yeah.
But Ken was a bridge too far for him.
Indeed, yes. And actually, in that final, we'll get to the session scores now. Doherty was 5-3 up after the first one, as Mike joins us. Hi, fellas, he says.
Hi, Mike.
But 5-3 Doherty, and in the 3 frames that Hendry won, he made 3 centuries.
Wow.
And then 11-5 Doherty overnight.
Yeah.
And then 15-9 Doherty after session 3.
He was putting some good runs of frames together with Ken in that year.
He was. And then 18-12 in the final. But from looking at the almanac here, Ken didn't make any centuries in that final, did he?
No, I think his highest break was 86.
Yes. Yeah. And obviously, we know what the highest break was that year.
Ronnie O'Sullivan, of course.
5 minutes and 8 seconds for a maximum. I know it's often quoted at 5 minutes 20, but there was an American who wrote into a snooker website in 2018 and actually found that the BBC had started the clock late, so it actually turned out to be 5 minutes and 8 seconds.
Yeah, so it's still the fastest 147 and still one that won't get beat.
Yeah.
And it was the 4th one in tournament history as well.
In the history of the World Championship, yes, after Thorburn in 83, White in 92 and Hendry in 95.
And the semi-final matches were the best of 33 for the first time, having been best of 31 before.
Yes, Michael Hager just pointed that out, believe it or not. He says, 97, the first year of best of 33 frame semi-finals. This was to give a final session of a possible 9 frames, as opposed to the previous format only giving a possible 7 frames, and therefore short-changing the fans.
That's bad, isn't it? Yeah. You see, that's not very good. That wasn't very nice, was it, to shortchange the fans?
No. But what did Ronnie get for the maximum, by the way, money-wise?
Money-wise for the maximum, he got... did he get... It's not... 147,000?
147 grand, yes.
For the maximum, yeah.
What was the eye break bonus then?
18,000.
So add 147, 157, and 8 would be
about 160 odd.
Yeah, 160 odd thousand.
Yeah.
And then what did Ken get as the winner?
210,000.
And Stephen was the runner-up?
126,000.
And number of century breaks?
How many century breaks did he get that year?
No, how many century breaks were there in total?
39 century breaks.
39, yeah.
Yeah. Ronnie got a 147, of course, and the other highest break was Stephen Hendry on 137.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that covered 1997. Any favourites?
What was the... Oh, I have to give the answer to the trivia question before we move on, because I asked at the end of yesterday's episode. We know Sullivan beat Mick Price in the first round because he made the maximum, of course. But who beat him in the following round?
Are we opening that up for people?
No, that was my question from last night.
All right. Well, the answer was Darren Morgan.
Correct.
Yes.
13-12.
Final frame decider.
13-12, yes.
Yeah. And by the way, Terry Griffiths' last ever match at the Crucible when he lost to Mark Williams.
on Mark's debut, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And here's a little stat for Michael Hager before he comes in with it. Terry Griffiths is the only player to have both won and lost a Black Bull deciding frame at the Crucible.
Oh, right, okay.
Because the deciding frame in 1996 in the first round against Jim Vernetti won that, but he lost in 1997.
Wow. Yeah. He did 10. Yes, he did. On the Black Ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, 10-9, of course. Yeah. Wow, okay. Okay, that covers 1997, Scott.
What was the song?
Oh, the number one song was I Believe I Can Fly by R. Kelly.
There.
I believe I can fly. Well, I won't sing that. Yeah, terrible.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I remember that still floating about in sort of the early days, about 2005-06 when I was.
Yeah, well, I remember buying the third single, number 3 that was out, U2, Staring at the Sun. I remember buying that single when I was like 13. So that's how I remember the 97 tournament to a point, the Watanabe Hendry one. But anyway, it wasn't the memory. I didn't see the Ronnie because I would have been at school. I didn't see the Ronnie Maximum, but okay. So that covers 1997.
Yeah.
1998.
Yes, we come to what was a significant year. Now, I wasn't born at this stage because my birthday's in July, not April, so I wasn't quite alive to see this, but my mother was, I was in the womb, as it were.
You watched it from the womb, yeah. But this was the same as, this happened the same as Joe Johnson, in a way. Joe Johnson the year before got to the final and won it. And then came back the year after and lost. And that's what happened to Ken.
Indeed. And funny enough, the player that Ken beat in the first round in 1998 is the player that he's playing in World Qualifying this year, Lee Walker.
Ah, okay, yeah.
10-8, that was.
Yeah. Welshman.
And Steve, what were you going to say there, Graham? Sorry about that.
I said Lee Walker, the Welshman, of course.
Indeed, yes. And then Stephen Lee, 13-8.
Yeah.
I said if I did my better, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then in the quarters, Matthew Stevens, 13-10.
Okay.
And then in the semis, Mark Williams, 17-14.
Wow. Yeah. Again, don't remember any of them matches per se. Don't remember the semi-finals of that at all. Can't remember 1998. I would have been 14. No, can't remember.
Yeah. Anyway, shall we go through John then?
Exactly, yeah. John Higgins, of course.
For his first, of course. And he, for his first win, beat the chairman of the WPBSA.
Jason Ferguson.
10-8. I wonder, did Jason think in 1998 when John beat him that he would end up chairman of the WPBSA?
Yeah. Well, it's anything's possible.
And then in the second round, he beat Anthony Hamilton 13-9.
Oh, good old Anthony Hamilton.
Yep. And then in the quarters, he beat John Parrott 13-11.
That was a good result for Parrott. I know he lost, but to get 11 frames over Higgins.
Yeah. And then in the semis, he beat his old rival.
Ronnie.
Yeah, 17, good grief, 17-9.
He thrashed him, never mind just beat him. He thrashed him one.
I know
But
that.
look at that.
Another stat from Michael Hager, I see.
Yes.
In 1998, Ronnie lost in the semi-finals. He has lost in the semis 5 times, the most any player has lost.
Yes, and also Higgins won the second session of the semi-final against Ronnie, 8-0 to go from 4-4 to 12-4 ahead. That was when Higgins was it was unplayable. And Kelvin, hello to Kelvin, by the way, who said hi.
Hello, Kelvin. Well done, sir.
So we're on 1998, Kelvin, if you've just joined us. And that first round, interesting score there, Scott. Jimmy White 10, Stephen Hendry 4.
Oh, yes, indeed. Because it was actually interesting, because Stephen had to lose in the first round and John had to win the tournament for John to be world number 1, to end Stephen Hendry's 8-year reign at the top. And of course, it happened.
That's an interesting stat.
Because Higgins had beaten Hendry in the final of the British Open at Plymouth just beforehand. So so that was how the points tallied up. Actually, that could happen this year again, because if Judd Trump loses in the first round, and Ronnie goes on to win the tournament, Ronnie's back at number 1, because Judd will lose 500,000 because he won it 2 years ago and his points are now coming off.
Yeah. That's so that history could repeat itself.
And well, provided Judd loses in the first round and Ronnie wins. But
I can't say. Well, I mean, we was on about the first round exits, like who's likely. I don't think Judd's likely, but he got one.
Nobody was saying Hendry would lose in the first round in '98, were they?
Well, exactly, but I was just saying that Trump got beat to McLeod one year, so just never know.
Yeah, he always seems to make a terrible meal of his first round match. I mean, he only won 10-8 against Tom Ford last year.
And he just struggled over the line against Wakeling, didn't he?
Yeah.
So
and even the year he won it, when Tepchaya won, when he played Tepchaya, had that pack split more favourably, the entire course of the championship would have been very different.
It's just little things like that, little fractions, isn't it?
Yeah.
Change matches. Anyway, the final was a referee that I don't think I've heard of that much, Laurie Annandale.
Laurie Annandale, yes. Alan Chamberlain was the ref in '97. We forgot to say.
I was just gonna try and find it. Go back and try and find out who there was. But yeah, thanks for mentioning that. Alan Chamberlain. Remember him?
Yes.
Yeah, Laurie Annandale. Okay.
Laurie Annandale was a Scotsman who was very good at putting tips on cues. And actually, he used to put Stephen Hendry's tips on. And Stephen flew him out to a tournament in Belgium, got a new tip on, and made Laurie go straight back home again.
Dear me. Anyway, final scores.
Session scores. 6-2 John. 10-6 John overnight, 13-11 John, and 18-12 he won it.
Yes.
And John, by the way, John had 5 centuries in the final and 14 in the tournament.
Yeah, and the highest break, of course, was Higgins 130 in that final.
Yeah.
Doherty 112.
Yes, and John was the last player to win the World Championship with a century break. He won it with a break of 118.
All right, and there was 59 century breaks in the whole tournament as well.
Which was a new record, the previous record being 48 from 1996.
Yeah, and it's a record that would last until 2002.
Yes, 2002 and 2007, there were 68.
Wow.
So.
There we go. And Simon Bedford, David Gray, Quinton Hahn. I remember Quinton Hahn.
Yes.
Of course, the man who just broke the Reds up, like smashed them everywhere. Matthew Stevens, Terry Murphy, Alfie Bird, and Peter Lyons, and Jason Prince, all their debuts that year.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
But John was absolutely unplayable that year.
Yeah, he was. He was. And
I mean, Kelly Darker remembers that year very well because that was the first year she went down.
Yes, that's the one. Yeah, she said that. Yeah. By the way, Kelvin says, I remember that great win for Jimmy against Stephen. Depends who Trump gets. He could get Bingham this year.
Well, repeat of the 2015 semi-final, of course.
Yeah. Can you see Bingham beating Trump if he gets through there?
He might do because he can play well at Sheffield. I know his record's not great, but he has won it, and he beat Trump on the way that year. So
yeah, 1996, 1997, 98. All three finals finished 18-12, which we didn't remark on.
Yeah, 1996, 18-12 for Hendry over Epton. 1997, 18-12 for Doherty over Hendry. And then 98, Higgins over Doherty.
Yep, and it was a great final. Higgins played incredible that day. Kelvin.
Well, that whole tournament, he was it. I still maintain that is the highest stat, the best, like, most consistent winning run by a champion of all time for a World Championship.
Yeah. Well, what about Davis when he won it with the least frames?
Yeah, but he didn't score as heavily.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, point taken. Okay.
I mean, John made 14 century breaks.
Yeah, that is pretty incredible. That is, beating the 12 made by Stephen Hendry made 95.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, Hendry would later eclipse that record and finish runner-up when he finished runner-up in 2002. But
wow. There you go. And by the way, 1998, the number one song that we must say, it was Run DMC versus Jason Nedins. It's Like That. It's like that, and that's the way it is. That's yeah. So that was the number one song then. So moving on to 1999.
Indeed. The year with the greatest semi-finals of them all.
Time, yeah.
I mean, what a lineup. We could nearly have a separate episode on the 99 semi-finals, but
we could. Wow. Yes, it was.
Williams was the runner-up, so we'll start with his route then. Good grief. Ian McCulloch, N4.
Ian McCulloch, semi-finalist of 2005, of course.
Indeed, we'll get there eventually. And then, let's see, in the second round, did he play in the oh, there we go. He played somebody. Who was that? Is that Nigel Walker? Who was that?
Nick Walker.
Nick Walker, it was.
Nick Walker, he beat 13-7, yeah.
13-7, yeah. It only has the first initial in the almanac, so I don't reckon. And Nick Walker. And then in the quarters, Williams beat Doherty 13-9.
He did.
And then the semi-finals, dear me, 17-10 he beat John Higgins.
Well, he must have played some to beat Higgins 17-10.
Yeah.
I mean, let's see what Higgins did. So he beat Gerard Green 10-2. He beat Mark King 13-4. And he beat Stephen Lee, less said about the better, 13-6. Yeah. And then, for Williams to beat him 17-10 was a bit of a, well, that's a bit of a great result, really.
It is, really. Now then, who did Hendry?
Of course.
Hendry's first round opponent.
Paul Hunter.
Oh, yes, so it was. 10-8, wasn't it? 10-8. Am I right there? 10-8?
10-8, yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, Paul Hunter lost to Hendry.
Yeah, wow. 10-8. And then Watner. 13-7. 13-5 against Matthew Stevens.
And then
17-13 against O'Sullivan. I mean, we got to talk about those semi-finals. I mean, I've seen bits of both of them, and particularly that Hendry O'Sullivan match. It was, but both semi-finals, but particularly Hendry O'Sullivan, it was just Well, Clive Everton called it snooker from the gods.
It was. I mean, the amount of centuries them two made in that semi-final was unbelievable.
8.
They were just putting each other's lights out.
Oh, it was superb. I mean, from 10-all to 12-all, 4 centuries in a row, and Ronnie must have picked for a maximum.
Yeah. Incredible stuff. I mean, when then Hendry goes on to, win the match 17-13. Once he got in front, he didn't look back, really, did he?
No, because he was 6-2 in front. But I mean, it was just like, I know the word Crucible Classics is a bit overused, because people think 1985 is a classic. It is, but it isn't. But 1999 was just the definition of classic.
Well, it was the most century breaks in a single match at the World Championship. That was
up until
up
until the final of 2019. There were 11 then.
Of course, yes. But wow, that was just incredible, wasn't it? It was mind-blowing snooker. Well, it wasn't really snooker. It was snooker from out the world.
Yeah, it was like playing snooker on a 9-ball pool table. I mean, it looked so easy.
And could you pick a winner, sort of, when there was like 12-all, 13-12? Could you really pick a winner at that stage?
No, bear in mind I was only I wasn't even 1 yet.
Okay, yeah, I was 15 at the time.
But I've watched the entire match, and from 12-all, you couldn't pick a winner.
I don't know how Hendry managed to just forge ahead then. Like the 5 frames, 5-frame deficit he had over.
Yeah,
sorry,
well, 4 frames. 4, yes, but no, I think Ronnie wasn't quite ready to win it then. I don't think.
True. Yeah, that is true. And of course, Hendry had the experience.
Yeah, I mean, 6 titles. Bear in mind that Hendry hadn't had the best of couple of years, because he'd lost in the first round the previous year. He'd lost to Marcus Campbell 9-0 in the pre-televised stages of the UK. And he was. He was fiddling about with his cue action, and everybody said when he got Paul Hunter in the first round, everybody was saying what a tough draw that was, because Paul Hundred won the Welsh Open in 1998 and beating John Higgins in the final. So
yeah, well, Paul, Ronnie still moans about his cue action now.
I know, but by the way, what was Ronnie's route to the semis that year? I suppose
Ronnie, he got through the first round. He beat Leo Fernandez 10-3.
Yeah.
Then he beat Joe Perry 13-8 in the second round.
Who beat Steve Davis on his debut, Joe Perry, of course.
Yes, yeah. And 1999.
99, it was this year.
1999. Oh, yeah, sorry. Joe Perry beat Steve Davis. Sorry. Yeah, it's in front of me. 13-8, of course, against Joe Perry.
Yeah.
And then he beat John Parrott 13-9 in the quarters.
Yeah. And he could have won 4-7 in that match too, but he broke down on 105.
Yeah, but Ronnie was going for it them years anyway. He was a fast player, but like you say, just not ready enough to win the tournament at that particular stage.
Yeah. But that 99 semi-final, I mean, that is just
unbelievable.
Oh, it's
what did got here? Robert Wilcox, Mark Wilcox, sorry, says it was a crazy match. Chris Bland says 5 centuries in one session. And he also, to remember, good player Nick Walker. Nick Walker was from Chester.
Ah, right.
Yeah. So that was where N. Walker was from.
Yes.
Yeah, and also to point out, Dominic Dale scored 167 points in one frame in his match against Nigel Bond. He earned
which was the record until last year for a single frame score.
And also earned it in 44 penalty points. And then made a century break. Wow.
Really?
Dominic Dale.
Is that 11? Did Nigel must have had 11 misses then?
Well, 44 penalty points, yeah. And this is the highest number of points ever scored by a player in one frame in any ranking event.
Yeah, well, yes. It's the highest individual score, but the combined score record was beaten last year with McGill and Wilson.
And who was the referee for the final, Scott?
It was Colin Brinded was the ref for the final.
It was, yeah.
Of Great Yarmouth. That's where he's from.
There we are. So the winner got
the session scores, rather. The session scores.
Sorry, yeah.
Is it 6? What's that? 6? No, 5-3, was it?
5-3 the first session?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes, 5-3.
5-3 Hendry. 10-6 Hendry. 15-9 Hendry, and he won 18-11.
Yeah. Highest
for his historic 7th world title, of course.
It was. And also, highest break by Williams was 89, and Hendry made 2 centuries.
Yep.
Yeah. You'd think that you would have got more than 2 centuries in that final, but by the frame scores that he won by.
Yeah. And then what about money and highest break of tournament?
1811, which nearly copied 1812, if Williams won more, of course. The winner, Stephen, got 230,000. 230,000. Yeah, that's right. And Matt got 135,000.
Not bad for a fortnight's work.
Not bad at all. Highest break was £2,000. Oh no, sorry. Highest break was 20 grand that year.
Yeah. What was the actual break?
The highest break was 142 from Higgins.
Yes, that's not bad at all.
Yeah, and 140 from Williams.
Yeah, and then total number of centuries.
53.
53.
Yeah.
Second year in a row over 50 then.
Yeah, so we're getting up then. We're climbing up a bit higher now.
Yeah.
And the highest
number one song?
Oh, number one song. Oh dear. I'm sure people remember this one. When the computer goes downwards, go down. There you go. Martine McCutcheon, of course, who was in EastEnders. Really perfect moment with you.
Dear me, that is going back a bit.
It certainly is. Fats and Small Turnaround was at number 2. So there you go. Oh, dear me. Okay. So 2000. So we're going into the millennium year now.
The year of millennium bugs and computer viruses and...
The works. Yes, this was the works this year.
Yeah, the year that Her Majesty spent New Year's Eve with Tony Blair.
Yeah. Anything stand out in this tournament for you, Scott, in the year 2000?
Well, an all-Welsh final.
This was one of my favourite finals, by the way.
Yes, sort of a forgotten one, but it was very good.
I thought it was really good. But we'll get to that in a moment as we go through Matthew Stevens' route, of course.
Because he was the runner-up. If I can adjust my almanac. There we go. Right, where is it then? Of course, we should say first of all that Ronnie lost to David Gray despite making 5 centuries.
Oh dear.
Anyway, where's Matthew then?
Well, he started off against Tony Drago.
Tony, what was the score there?
10-2, Stevens.
Oh dear. Then he beat McManus 13-4.
Yeah, that's a bit of a surprise to beat Manus by that margin.
And then he beat Jimmy in the quarters 13-7.
Did.
And in the semis, he beat my fellow countryman,
Mr. Joe Swale.
Indeed, 17-12.
Yeah, I remember Joe Swale. I think I remember that semi as well. I thought that was a really good semi-final. I think I saw like the middle stages, but I didn't see the end of it. But yeah, it was a good semi, that was.
Yeah. Mark,
of course.
The Welsh potting machine and the first left-hander to win it.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, for many years we thought the first left-hander would be
the first left-hander to win the tournament.
Yeah, who would have been the first left-hander if he had won it?
Oh dear.
Jimmy, of course.
Oh yeah, of course. Jimmy. Sorry. Yeah, Jimmy.
Right. There we go. All right. Is that John Reid 10-4? I think he was Scotch.
John Reid. Yeah, he beat him 10-4. Yeah, John Reid. It says he was English, but he didn't say he was Scottish.
In the second round, he beat Drew Henry, who definitely was Scottish.
He definitely was Scottish. I remember Drew Henry.
13-9. In the quarters, he beat Fergal O'Brien 13-5.
Yep.
And then John 17-15. That was a real good one. I've seen that one.
Yeah, and also Michael Hager says He's got it in there. Dominic
Dale reached the quarter-final in 2000. He next reached it in 2014. I believe this 14-year gap in successive quarter-final appearances is a record, and I can confirm that he is correct.
There you are. And, of course, Michael Hager, Scott, is one of our guests soon.
Well, if we can get a date with him and get it all organised.
We'll get it organised with him. But, yeah, he's coming on to give you a statistical battle, I think.
I think you should leave that one to me and I'll take care of it.
Yeah, but that final, when we get to the session scores, was one of the closest finals for a long time.
Yeah, because if you actually look at Mark Williams's 3 finals that he's won, they're all 18-16.
Ah, that's interesting. Yeah. So, session scores for the final.
Right,
oh, by the way, the referee was John Newton as well.
Yes. Now, when we say John Newton, we don't mean the writer of Amazing Grace. He was long dead.
Okay. No, that's fair enough. I've got something interesting to say about this final, but we'll hear the session scores.
4-all.
Yep.
10-6 mark. 13-11 mark. And 18-16 mark.
Didn't Stevens lead though at one point?
He did. Yes, sorry, that was 10-6 Matthew. Sorry, I beg your pardon.
He led 13-7 at one point, didn't he?
Yes, he led 13-7 in both finals that he appeared in.
Yeah, the one against Murphy, which he threw away, and then he threw away this one as well.
Chris Bland says, I believe it was John Newton's last match before retiring, and he's correct.
There you go. A lot of people are saying, well, Kelvin as well, this was an excellent final. This was the one that I really remember, Scott. It was so good to watch.
Well, Matthew made 5 centuries.
Yeah, he did. And the highest break was 120 by Stevens, of course.
Yeah. Michael Hager's right. Mark Williams was a seeded player when he first played at the Crucible in 97. I believe this is incredibly rare for a player on debut to be seeded. Yes, it is rather rare. I'll look that up in the almanac and get back to you, Michael, as to how many players have been seeds on debut. Look, Bracel was as well, actually. But I'll get back to Michael Hager with an exact figure there.
Now, at one point in that final, Williams overlooked the scoreboard when he should have took the blue. I think, before the final colours.
Yeah.
And then he ended up in the jaws of the middle pocket after potting the blue. Well, went for the pink. And then Matthew potted the pink down the cushion and won that frame.
He did.
Yeah. But that was an oversight, and even John Virgo said at the time, that's a mistake.
Yeah.
Now he checks the scoreboard and it's too late.
Indeed.
Yeah. I don't know what frame that was and what score it was at the actual time. I think that was when Stevens had a big lead.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, that sort of thing's not recorded in the almanac.
Yeah. And I don't know what scores that actually was, but one frame Stevens won was 55-54. Yeah.
Have you got money and highest break and all that?
Oh, the centuries 54 were made in that championship. The highest break was a 143 from Matthew Stevens. And he got, for the highest break there, a stage. They had a stage 1 and a stage 2 of highest breaks, but it would have been 20,000.
Yeah, for the actual televised.
Oh yeah, stage 1 and 2. Yeah. And the winner, 240,000. Mark got.
Runner up, Matthew.
140,000.
Oh.
Yeah, so not a bad day's work.
Not a bad fortnight, really.
Not at all. Joe Swale returned to the top 16 of the snooker rankings after reaching the semi-final.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Matthew, of course.
In the final round of qualifying, Gary Wilkinson and Jason Ferguson, who's now the chairman of the WPCSA, set the record of the longest best of 19 matches for 11 hours and 38 minutes.
Do you know which former guest of the show was there that night?
Chris Henry?
No.
Cliff?
Eurosport commentator.
Oh, Dave Hendon, of course, yes.
He was there that night covering it.
Dave, good old Dave. And this year's edition of the tournament marked the only time that both Hendry and O'Sullivan were eliminated in the first round.
Who knocked Hendry out on debut, by the way?
It was.
Can you do it without looking? But I was going to ask you to do it without looking, but there you go. Stuart Bingham.
Just saw it there, and then Jimmy White beat Bingham.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then
Ronnie got knocked out.
By David Gray.
Yeah, there you go. I was just gonna do that without looking, Scott.
David Gray with 5 century breaks.
Wow. Incredible.
The #1 song for the Millennium Over Crucible Time was?
Number 1. It was when it goes down. Tucker's Miracle by Fragma.
Oh.
Do you remember that one?
I was only 3.
Okay. You might not want to remember it, to be fair. I need a miracle.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's that one, all right, yes.
And at number 3 was that thong.
Oh, goodness me.
Terrible. Right, so 2001.
Ronnie's first, of course.
Ronnie's first.
After 9 years of trying.
And this was the year that, of course, John Higgins felt the agony, as Clive Everton said, the agony of it all.
But, by the way, just let this sink in, right?
Yeah.
This was 20 years ago.
20 years. This year, 20 years.
Yeah.
Right. So we're going to talk about Higgins' route first, of course.
John, first of all. Where the blazes names got?
Okay, so his first round was against. Oh dear. Oh, Graham Dott. He beat Graham Dott.
Oh yeah. There we go. I can actually see that. It was down on my knee, and I couldn't really see it. Hold on. There we go.
He beat Graham Dott 10-4.
Yeah. Now then I can see that. That's better. And
by the way, Scott, Mark says on the last final that Matthew should have gone 14-9 up.
Yes, he's right. He's right.
Yeah. Okay.
And then in the second round, John beat Chris Small 13-8.
He did? Wow. I remember Chris Small.
Yeah. And then in the quarters, he beat Ken 13-6.
Yeah, his rival from the previous finals.
Well, 98, yes.
Yeah.
And then Matthew Stevens 17-15. Now that's a forgotten classic, that is, because the last frame took 59 minutes.
What? Yeah, I didn't see that one either. But well, I'll have to rewatch that and see if I can see that, because wow, that's a long time for the end of the semi-final.
Yeah, but it shows just what it meant to the men fellas in those days. What it still means to them now, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then Ronnie's route.
Yeah.
Well, he sort of breezed through it. 10-2 against Andy Hicks.
Yeah.
13-6 against Dave Arnold.
Same score against Ebden.
Yep, 13-6 against Peter Ebden. And 17-11 against Joe Swale.
Yeah. So he was flying along, really, Ronnie, wasn't he? And
Yeah.
So he had, well, John was flying along as well. So they both had good runs.
They did. But I've got to say, like, this has to be, this is my top 3 finals of all time.
It was a classic. And the referee, by the way, was Arian Williams.
Yes, his first, actually.
Yeah. So, wow, what a final it was.
Two people that are now considered, well, in my book, two of the 3 best players of all time.
Yeah, the masters of the game. Absolutely.
6-2 Ronnie.
Yep.
10-6 Ronnie overnight. 14-10 Ronnie. And 18-14 he won it. So he maintained a 4-frame gap the whole way through.
Yeah, it was sort of all over him all the way through, wasn't he? And like Clive Everton, like I said before this, Clive Everton said the agony, because he missed a red and he went. And you could see the frustration that it meant to him.
Yeah.
And he knew he was gone then. He knew he knew the match was over. But like I say, a 4-frame lead. Ronnie was always strong position all the way through. But the finals, like the century breaks, they made 4 of them, but 2 between them.
Yeah, 2 each, I mean.
Yeah, 2 each. Ronnie's was 139 and Higgins was 135.
Yeah, that 135 was in frame 5, if I'm not mistaken.
It was. Oh no, hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4. It was actually frame 6.
Frame 6. Oh,
yeah.
Yes, you're right.
But and the Ronnie break of 139 came in frame. Was it frame 12? Frame 15?
It was frame 16, 17. Frame 18 it was.
18. And then he went on to make 133. Great. 2 frames after.
He did. He was superb.
He was.
Michael Hager has just pointed out there, Ronnie sorted out Ebden in the quarters with, I believe, a second session whitewash. Ebden said it was like watching Mozart. And he's right.
He was. Brilliant. Fantastic victory, though, over Ebden to do that in that way. A second session whitewash. That was great.
By the way, that will be our trivia question for tonight.
Okie dokie.
How many session whitewashes have there been at the Crucible? Now, this is one for real anoraks.
Yeah, Michael Hager should know that.
Yeah.
And Kelly Barker should know this as well.
Well, I'm getting these from the almanac, so Kelly should know all of them.
So, as Kelvin said, if Ronnie wins this year, 20 years since his first title win.
Which would be a record because
it's the longest gap.
Yeah, between first and last.
Well, that's right. And who can forget Ebden's psychotic episode when he potted the winning ball to beat Stephen Lee 30-12 in the second round?
Yeah, I'm like, come on.
Yeah, 2000. That was 2001. Wow. So, yeah, but he wasn't saying that the next following round.
No, indeed not. He wasn't saying that after Ronnie thrashed him.
No, but he did do it over a final frame decider, which is fair enough.
He did. He did. No.
But was that like? I was going to ask. Was that relevant to do in front of your opponent, though? Really?
Well, you know what Peter was like. He was very intense and very.
Yeah, and less about Stephen Lee, of course.
Well, yes.
We won't go into that. But yeah, the both Steve Davis and Jimmy White failed to qualify for the championship for the first time since their debuts in 1979 and 81, respectively. Yep. They were both eliminated in the final qualifying round. Davis lost to Andy Hicks 10-6, and Jimmy lost to Michael Judge 10-7.
Yep. No, Steve.
Wallace. Hang on, Patrick Wallace reached the quarterfinals as well on debut. However, he never qualified for the main draw again.
Yes. Who did he play in that quarterfinal? No, don't look. Don't look.
Okay. Joe Swale.
Correct.
Yes. Get in. Get in. So,
2 Northern Irishmen, of course.
Yeah, you want prize money?
Yeah, prize money and highest break.
Right, highest break was highest break, by the way, was completed by
JS Joe Swale.
It was 140. John Higgins got a 139
in the final. Yes.
Yeah, that was £20,000 for the highest break. Ronnie picked up 250,000 for the win, and John got the maximum, the 147. 147,000.
Not for a maximum, but just as runner-up.
Yeah, that was the prize money one, 147,000. Yeah. So there we go. That covers 2001 from 1997.
Yep.
And your favourite final of all was 2001, Scott.
Yeah, just because of the 2 involved, but the standard as well was super. But the #1 song in 01 was.
Oh, yeah, and just to say, my favourite final of that era was the year 2000, Stevens and Williams. And the #1 song was What Took You So Long from Emma Bunton.
Dear, we are getting a bit more modern now, all right.
Yeah, and #2 was Shaggy, It Wasn't Me. I'm sure you remember that one.
Yeah, well.
Yeah. So, there we go, Scott. Thank you very much for your input tonight.
Yeah.
You've done the quiz question for tomorrow.
Yeah. How many session whitewashes have there been at the Crucible with at least 6 frames played in the session?
Okay, answer coming tomorrow for that one. And also in the Championship League, back to reality years.
Yeah. Back to reality.
Graham Dott against Ali Carter and Mark Williams against Yao Yu Long.
Oh.
So
you make a Williams Carter final favourite probably there?
Possibly so, yeah. Yeah, I think so. Well, Higgins and Dott are already through. So yeah, that should be an interesting one.
Yep, right.
Right then, well, and Stuart Bingham's obviously he scored a 147 in this tournament, didn't he?
Yeah, like back in the earlier stage, yes.
Yeah. So that's covered everything tonight.
Yes.
We'll be back tomorrow with finals, one of the best ones of 2002 to 2006, I believe, tomorrow.
Yes, we'll go 2002 to 6.
Okie dokie. Well, thanks very much for tonight, Scott.
Thank you very much, Graham.
No worries. Grand episode. See you tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
No problem. Bye.
Bye.